funeral as soon as it happened, just because.
The craziest part about No Jumper's decline isn't that the interviews aren't getting the same views anymore. It isn't that a bunch of former hosts left. It isn't even all the drama, beef scandals, and public fallouts that seem to happen every other month. The craziest part is that Adam22 actually accomplished what most media owners dream about. He built a platform from scratch.
I know that might sound crazy. Between both of our YouTube channels last month, we got over 25 million views. We're doing well on Facebook and Snapchat. How could we be going broke? Well, let's
turned it into one of the most influential hip-hop media brands on the internet, became a kingmaker for underground rappers, and created an empire that at one point felt completely untouchable. The problem is that somewhere along the way, Adam became so focused on building No Jumper into a machine that he accidentally destroyed the one thing that made people care about the machine in the first place. Adam22 himself.
What?
But don't tell me that I'm not allowed to have an opinion.
What do riding bikes got to do with rap?
Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean a real thing. Look at me.
We listen.
Don't be looking at the guy sitting next to
I'm
you.
hot. I'm hot. Y'all playing. Y'all playing. I'm hot.
Oh, wow.
I'm hot.
There we go.
I'm hot, Adam.
Oh, wow.
I'm hot.
When you really look at the history of No Jumper, I think that's the story that gets overlooked the most. A lot of people talk about the lawsuits, the host departures, the gang politics, the interviews, the controversies, or the changing state of hip-hop media. All of those things matter, but underneath every one of those stories is a bigger problem that has been developing for years. Adam slowly transformed himself from the reason people watch No Jumper into the reason many people stop watching it. That's a brutal thing to say, but I think there's some truth there, because if you've been watching No Jumper for a long time, you probably remember what made it special in the first place. Back then, No Jumper didn't feel corporate, it didn't feel calculated, it didn't feel like a media company. It felt like one guy who genuinely loved underground culture and somehow managed to get access to artists before everybody else realized they mattered. That was the magic. Adam wasn't supposed to be the biggest personality in the room. He wasn't the funniest guy. He wasn't the loudest guy. He wasn't the most entertaining guy. What made him valuable was his curiosity. He felt like a fan who somehow found himself sitting across from people who were about to become famous. That's why those early interviews worked so well. When Adam interviewed underground artists, there was a sense of discovery.
You came in hip-hop in 32. I was born into hip-hop.
That I'm not allowed to have an opinion about hip-hop because I started doing podcasts at 32.
Not that, but you saying you capitalized off hip-hop. He's saying he's really in hip-hop.
Well, he was hanging out at poetry lounges and yeah.
You got it. You cool with the disrespect. Go ahead. You laughing, but it's cool, bro. You got it.
I mean, I'm just saying.
You got it.
But yeah, I think y'all got two different points from the beginning, from the start.
No, you started it. You forced me to do that.
How? I never attacked you.
Because you started calling me a fan and saying I got into hip-hop at 32.
Did you not?
You lied.
Did you not?
You lied.
So what were you doing before?
Viewers felt like they were seeing the future before everyone else. There was a feeling that No Jumper was plugged into something the rest of the industry hadn't noticed yet, and that's incredibly difficult to replicate. People often assume No Jumper's success came from controversy, but I don't think that's true. The controversy came later. The foundation was credibility. For years, Adam built trust with an audience that believed he had his finger on the pulse of youth culture. When a rapper showed up on No Jumper, it felt important. When Adam co-signed somebody,
podcaster, why the f would I stop talking?
Stop talking, that's your problem.
What?
That's cool, I'll leave. But I'm telling you, you a bitch.
Get out of here.
You scared.
You're fucked.
people paid attention. When he interviewed an artist, viewers felt like they were getting access to a world that mainstream media couldn't reach. That trust was the real asset. Not the building, not the cameras, not the employees. The trust. And trust is one of the hardest things to maintain. Once you start scaling, that's where I think everything started changing. As No Jumper grew, Adam found himself in a position most creators eventually reach. The thing that made you successful suddenly isn't enough anymore. Growth becomes addictive. Expansion becomes addictive. Bigger numbers become addictive. You start hiring more people, launching more shows, creating more content, chasing more revenue, building a bigger business, and on paper, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. The problem is that every business has a core identity, and if you move too far away from that identity, eventually people stop recognizing what made the brand special. That's what happened to a lot of media companies throughout history. The bigger they became, the less authentic they felt. The more efficient they became, the less personal they felt. The more content they produced, the less valuable each piece of content became. No Jumper started experiencing a version of that problem. Instead of feeling like Adam's platform, it started feeling like a content factory. And once that happens, viewers begin looking at the content differently. People stop asking, what is Adam interviewing today? They start asking, what controversy is No Jumper chasing today? That's a massive shift because one question is built on curiosity. The other is built.
I'm pretty sure come 4 o'clock, he gonna be here. My attorney assured me they're gonna definitely have him at 2:30 at the latest. So he'll be here at 4 o'clock. I'm pretty sure he's gonna have a lot.
Built on spectacle. Curiosity creates loyalty, spectacle creates temporary attention. And those aren't the same thing. The internet has a habit of rewarding spectacle in the short term while punishing it in the long term. Every viral controversy creates incentives for more controversy. Every successful drama cycle creates incentives for another drama cycle. Before long, the audience begins associating the platform with conflict rather than discovery. That's where things get dangerous, because conflict is easier to create than trust, and once trust starts disappearing, it's extremely difficult to get back. Now, to be fair, Adam didn't create all of No Jumper's problems by himself. That's important to acknowledge. The media landscape changed, hip-hop changed, YouTube changed, audience behavior changed. The underground music scene isn't the same as it was in 2016. The SoundCloud era ended. The artists who once needed platforms like No Jumper now have countless ways to reach audiences directly. Competition increased, the internet became more fragmented. All of those things played a role, but I don't think those external changes fully explain what's happened. Because if we're being honest, a lot of viewers didn't leave No Jumper because another platform replaced it. They left because the platform stopped feeling like the thing they originally fell in love with, and that's where Adam's personal brand becomes so important. For years, Adam was No Jumper, not legally, not structurally, but emotionally. When people thought about No Jumper, they thought about Adam discovering artists, Adam asking questions, Adam introducing audiences to new talent, Adam sitting down with people nobody else was interviewing. The brand and the founder were connected.
Do you think that as long as we're pushing peace that you could fix things between the Bloodhounds and Billionaire Black?
As long as we pushing peace, do we? Oh yeah. So
yeah, let's push peace in their direction.
That's mandatory, man. I've been seeing these type of whoops. Like I say, Billy a little older, so I just want bro to fall back off them type of whoops because we supposed to be setting an example for the younger generation. So in my opinion, we can't be whooping like that for too long. Like all of us is familiar with the Bloodhound Lil Jeff story. May he rest in peace. And all of us is familiar with the Richie Jerk story. May he rest in peace.
Then something interesting happened. Adam started becoming bigger than the interviews themselves, not in a positive way. The attention gradually shifted away from the guests and toward Adam's personal controversies. His relationships became content. His marriage became content.
You're so helpless. So I'm not gonna have you help me with something where I feel like it's gonna take me double.
So he's like a big ass kid.
I have very limited life
I told him the other day,
skills.
it's like dating a 13-year-old boy.
His personal decisions became content. His private life became content. At first, that generated massive attention, but attention isn't always beneficial. Sometimes attention creates confusion. The audience begins wondering what the platform actually represents. Is it a hip-hop platform, a podcast network, a drama channel, a reality show, an interview platform? Eventually, everything starts blending together. And when a brand tries to be everything, it often becomes less effective at being anything. That's one of the biggest risks creators face when they build businesses around themselves. The same personality that creates growth can eventually create instability. The same openness that attracts audiences can eventually damage credibility. The same attention that drives traffic can eventually overshadow the actual product. And I think that's exactly what happened here. Adam spent years trying to transform No Jumper into an empire. More hosts, more shows, more personalities, more content, more scale. But the irony is that No Jumper was never valuable because it was a massive operation. It was valuable because people trusted Adam's perspective. That's what made the interviews matter. That's what made artist discoveries matter. That's what made the platform matter. Once that trust started eroding, the entire foundation became weaker. Think about some of the biggest media personalities ever. Howard Stern, Joe Rogan, Charlemagne. Love them or hate them, people tune in.
Yep, not bad.
No, that would be my moment.
Donovan fired.
Russ gonna get shot.
Somebody's
deathmatch coming back.
Explain that junk. Bring back
What?
The issue, because
I just don't like him. He's corny. I hate him.
Because they trust the experience those personalities create. The audience develops a relationship with the host. That relationship becomes the business. If the audience loses faith in that relationship, everything else becomes harder. And I think Adam underestimated how much No Jumper depended on his own credibility. Because credibility is weird. You don't notice it when it's there, you only notice it when it's gone. When credibility exists, interviews feel important. When credibility disappears, interviews start feeling interchangeable. That's why replacing talent is often harder than media companies think. You can replace employees, you can replace producers, you can replace equipment. Replacing trust is almost impossible. The other thing that stands out to me is how many former No Jumper personalities eventually became stories themselves. Think about how often conversations surrounding No Jumper focus on people who left.
And like, oh, you don't post your girl, you don't be doing this, you don't be doing, and I'd be like, bro, I gotta come home and hear this shit, bro.
Oh.
I don't like that. You feel me?
Do they know that shit is rolling over to your household?
No.
Did you tell them?
No. But that's why I was like,
tell them, bro, so they know.
Nah, cause I don't like being that nigga that be like, oh no, I don't want you to do this and do that. But like literally, it was a situation last week where my girl was in the room, and then they start making jokes about another girl that was in the room pertaining to me, and I'm like, bro, some shit, bro, we can't do that. Like,
let's be loud and clear. The other girl,
rather than people who stayed. That's unusual. When former employees consistently become major talking points, it often means the audience has become invested in the relationships behind the scenes rather than the content itself. And once viewers become more interested in the internal drama than the product, that's usually a warning sign, because the product is supposed to be the main attraction. The behind-the-scenes conflict shouldn't overshadow the reason people showed up in the first place. Unfortunately, that happened repeatedly. Every departure became a storyline. Every disagreement became content. Every conflict became another chapter in an ongoing reality show. Again, that generated attention. But attention and value aren't always the same thing. A lot of internet businesses confuse those two concepts. Just because people are watching doesn't mean they're watching for the right reasons. Just because people are talking doesn't mean they're becoming more loyal. Sometimes people are simply witnessing a decline in real time. And that's a harsh reality many media companies never fully understand until it's too late. What makes this story fascinating is that Adam actually succeeded at building an empire. That's the part people overlook. Most creators never reach that level. Most creators never build recognizable media brands. Most creators never create entire ecosystems around themselves. Adam accomplished all of that. No Jumper became one of the most influential platforms in hip-hop media. That's a legitimate achievement. The problem is that building an empire and maintaining the reason people cared about the empire are two different skills. One requires expansion, the other requires preservation, and those goals often conflict with each other. The more a business expands, the harder it becomes to preserve authenticity. The more content you produce, the harder it becomes to maintain quality. The more personalities you add, the harder it becomes to maintain a consistent identity. That's the challenge Adam faced, and in many ways it's the same challenge every successful creator eventually faces. How do you scale without losing yourself? How do you become bigger without becoming worse? How do you build an empire without destroying the thing that made the empire possible? Those questions sound simple. They're not. Most businesses fail because they never grow. Some businesses fail because they grow too much. No Jumper's story feels like a case study in the second problem. The platform became bigger, the operation became bigger, the content output became bigger, the brand became bigger, but somewhere during that expansion, the connection between Adam and the audience became weaker. And once that connection weakens, every other problem becomes harder to solve. At the end of the day, I don't think No Jumper's biggest issue was controversy. I don't think it was competition. I don't think it was changing algorithms. I don't think it was host departures. Those things mattered, but they weren't the core issue. The core issue was that Adam spent years trying to build No Jumper into a media empire, and in the process, he slowly damaged the very thing that made No Jumper valuable in the first place. Himself, the trusted interviewer, the culture scout, the guy people believed was genuinely connected to what was happening next. Once that version of Adam started disappearing, No Jumper became just another media company competing for attention. And that's a much harder business to win. Peace.